Taylor Swift wrote one of the most brutal descriptions of gifted child burnout in a single phrase, "Wasted like all my potential." But the most important part of "This Is Me Trying" is not the failure. It is the word trying. Because this song asks a question most achievement systems cannot answer. If a person fights with everything they have just to prevent the worst outcome, but produces nothing impressive, does that effort still count? There is a particular kind of failure that only happens to people who were once told they were exceptional. Not ordinary failure, not making a mistake and recovering from it. This is the slower, more private collapse that happens when a person builds an identity around potential and then reaches adulthood without becoming the person everyone predicted. That is the wound at the center of Taylor Swift's "This Is Me Trying." The song is often described as being about regret, addiction, depression, or a damaged relationship. It is all of those things. But its sharpest insight is about something even more humiliating: what effort looks like after achievement stops being visible. The narrator does not arrive with proof that she has changed. She does not have a dramatic redemption story. She cannot point to a promotion, a recovered relationship, or a clean record of good decisions. All she can offer is her presence. She came to the doorway. She did not disappear. She is trying, and the tragedy is that nobody else can see how much that costs. The second verse begins with a sentence that sounds almost compassionate. "They told me all of my cages were mental." But there is cruelty hiding inside that reassurance. If the cage is mental, other people can decide it is not real. They can treat suffering as a thought that should be corrected, a bad attitude, or a failure of will. But a cage built inside the mind is still a cage. In some ways, it is harder to escape because the prisoner has to carry it everywhere. Then, Taylor compresses an entire life into one brutal turn of phrase. "So I got wasted like all my potential." Wasted does two jobs at once. It describes intoxication, but it also repeats the verdict that follows a struggling former high achiever, wasted potential. The person is not simply drinking. They have started to embody the accusation made against them. Every failure becomes evidence that everyone was right. Every attempt to numb the shame creates more shame to escape from. That is why the reference to potential hurts so much. Potential sounds like a compliment when you're young. It means adults can imagine a brilliant future for you, but potential can become a debt. The longer you live, the more it feels as though you're being measured against a fictional version of yourself who made every correct decision. The real person can never defeat that imaginary one. In the Long Pond Studio Sessions discussion, Taylor explained that she was thinking about a person who had excelled in school when achievement came with classes, grades, and what she called gold stars. Then school ends. The structure disappears. There is no syllabus for becoming an adult, no teacher confirming that you are on schedule, and no single curve showing where you stand. That context unlocks the strangest image in the verse. "I was so ahead of the curve became a sphere." A curve is supposed to tell you who is ahead and who is behind. A sphere destroys that certainty. Travel far enough in one direction and you can circle back to where you began. The person who once seemed years ahead now watches former classmates pass them. Early achievement did not guarantee arrival. It may even have made getting lost feel more unbearable. This is not jealousy in its simplest form. The classmates matter because they are witnesses. They remember the version of you who was expected to succeed. Falling behind them feels public even when nobody is watching. But the song refuses to make its narrator perfectly innocent. She admits that her words become weapons when she is angry. She has hurt people, she regrets it. That admission is essential because "This Is Me Trying" is not a demand for praise without accountability. Taylor does not write a clean victim who deserves instant forgiveness. She writes someone whose suffering helps explain the damage but does not erase it. That distinction gives the song its moral weight. Mental illness can be real, addiction can be real, shame can be crushing, and the people harmed by someone's behavior can still be hurt. Compassion does not require pretending the harm never happened. The narrator knows an apology may not repair what she broke. She knows effort does not automatically earn access to another person. She comes anyway, not to announce that she is healed, but to say that the attempt itself is real. The most devastating image arrives when she describes pouring her heart out to a stranger and then immediately clarifies what she did not pour: the whiskey. To an outside observer, this may look like almost nothing. She talked to someone. She went home. There is no triumphant transformation. But for a person fighting an internal battle, the absence of disaster can be the victory. At Long Pond, Taylor described thinking about people struggling with addiction or mental illness who receive no applause for resisting old patterns. She said that only the person fighting knows how close they may be to returning to a dark place. Her starkest observation was that even choosing not to drive off a cliff can be an act of trying. That idea changes the scale by which the entire song must be judged. We are trained to recognize effort by its results. Trying looks like improvement, it looks like productivity, consistency, repaired relationships, or visible recovery. But some days, trying means that nothing got worse. It means the message was not sent, the drink was not poured, the cruel sentence was swallowed, or the car turned around. From the outside, the day looks empty. From the inside, it may have required everything. This is why the song has become so meaningful to listeners who feel stalled, burned out, depressed, addicted, or simply ashamed that adulthood did not resemble the future once promised to them. It does not romanticize collapse. It recognizes effort before effort becomes success. Even the production supports that reading. The original recording does not build toward a clean pop release. Taylor's voice sounds distant, almost suspended inside the music. The arrangement swells, but it never gives the narrator a conventional victory. She remains in the unresolved space between regret and repair. That is where the title becomes important. This Is Me Trying is not the same as I tried. I tried can close a conversation. It places effort safely in the past. Trying is present tense. The outcome is still uncertain. Failure remains possible. The narrator has not crossed into a permanent state called recovered. She is choosing again in this moment. The phrase is also deliberately modest. She does not say, "This is me changing," because she cannot yet prove that. She does not say, "This is me deserving forgiveness," because forgiveness belongs to the other person. She offers only the smallest claim she can honestly make. This action, however inadequate it appears, is costing me something. Please understand what it is. That claim pushes against the way modern life measures effort. Schools reward correct answers. Jobs reward output. Social media rewards visible transformation. The before and after photograph, the comeback announcement, the clean milestone that can be summarized in a caption. We are comfortable celebrating struggle once it has produced a success story. The song stays with the person before that ending exists. There is no proof that tomorrow will be better. No montage turns private discipline into a public achievement. The narrator may wake up and have to resist the same impulses again. That repetition is not evidence that the effort failed. For many people, repetition is what recovery actually looks like. This also explains why the song does not ask us to lower every standard. The narrator still owns the damage caused by her anger. The people she hurt are not required to erase their boundaries because she is struggling. But accountability and compassion can occupy the same sentence. What happened was harmful, and resisting its repetition may require work nobody else can see. That is a more difficult moral position than either condemnation or easy absolution. It asks us to judge actions honestly without assuming that a lack of visible progress means a lack of effort. There is hope in that sentence, but not the decorative kind. It is the thin, stubborn hope of somebody who has run out of impressive gestures and still shows up. That may be the deepest reason the song connects. Most people eventually reach a season when their best is not impressive. They lose the gold stars. Their progress becomes invisible. They discover that being gifted did not protect them from grief, illness, dependency, anger, or regret. In that season, the world may continue asking, "What have you accomplished?" Taylor's song asks a different question. What did it cost you not to give up today? Those questions produce very different definitions of a successful life. The narrator has not fulfilled all her potential. She has not repaired every relationship. She has not escaped every mental cage. But she has interrupted the worst possible ending. She is standing at the door instead of vanishing. She is telling the truth instead of pouring the whiskey. That is not nothing. Sometimes trying is not the first chapter of a spectacular comeback. Sometimes it is smaller and more urgent. It is the act that keeps another chapter possible. And perhaps that is why the song never needs to tell us whether the stranger lets her inside. The immediate victory is that she arrived. She made it to the doorway. For one more night, she chose possibility over disappearance. This is her trying. For anyone quietly doing the same, it may be enough to be seen.